Now, on one-or topical issues are discussed with today's studio guests and Gloria, live.
Now, this is the start of Environment Week, when all manner of green activities are being organised up and down the country. But amongst the Greens themselves, there are major differences of opinion about what exactly needs to be done to protect the environment. Those who are content to use environmentally friendly products, such as you find in supermarkets, are known as the light Greens, and others who would like to get rid of supermarkets altogether are the dark Greens. And with me to discuss the colour of our concern are Julia Hailes, who's author of the Young Green Consumer Guide, and Bernadette Valleley, director of the Women's Environmental Network. And Julia, as the light green in this case, I wonder, first of all, would you outline your theories on that?
Well, just very briefly, it's essentially that we feel that there is a lot that the individual can do through their purchasing power, rather than just to stop consuming or to get rid of supermarkets. We think that they have a role to play in the greening of our society.
I can't help thinking of that song, The 40 Shades of Green, sometimes, because within the movement there seems to be all difference of colour. So, Bernadette, how do you differ then with Julia?
Well, I think you have to realise that if you keep buying things continuously, there isn't going to be enough to go around. And one of the biggest problems that we have is that the industrial world is consuming more and more and more. And if you take the whole planet, for example, there just isn't going to be enough.
But what sort of things do you do in your own life to actually see this through?
Well, for example, if you were to use environment-friendly cleaning, washing up liquids and so forth, it would be easier as a dark green to swap and use baking powder, which is cheaper and which is better, is a simpler product, and you wouldn't need to buy all these environment-friendly products.
And is that what you do?
Yes, I do that, yes.
What, you clean your whole house with baking powder and what?
Baking powder and vinegar. It's simple and it's very cheap.
But in a way, you know, in 1990, do you honestly think that people will go back to doing that?
I don't think we're going back anywhere. I think we're going forward. I think...
Yeah, but our grannies were using that sort of years ago.
But what we have to do is look forward to the 90s and say we don't need all these expensive, sophisticated products. We don't need a light green example of one of them anyway. What we can do is baking powder is perfectly simple.
But, you know, can you go along with that, or do you not think that compromise, as with the light green, is really the thing to do?
I'm afraid that I don't use baking powder, and like many other people, I use ordinary detergents. But I think that it is important to realise that if your reaction to industry is that they just simply shouldn't exist, they're really not going to do anything. And of course, by buying products that have changed and improved in terms of their impact on the environment, you are actually sending, not only you decreasing your impact on the environment, but you're also sending a very clear message back to industry that those are the sort of products you want them to continually improve on what they're doing. And it does mean that they're responding to that, and they're doing a tremendous amount of research in order to minimise that impact, which is crucially important, because obviously there are a lot of problems coming about through industry and what they're doing.
Yes, but yours, I can see, is a very fashionable approach at the moment, isn't it? And certainly the number of products on the shelves, they're increasing all the time. But is that long-term going to really do any good?
Well, I think it's actually likely to be much more effective, and the reason why I think it's going to be effective is because a lot more people are going to readily change the brands that they buy rather than give up consuming altogether. And I think that we've got to realise that we're in an industrial society. We're in a society where we do have supermarkets, we do have detergents, and I think that very few people are actually going to go all the way and give them up. And consequently, rather than face people with trying to make them do too much, I think we've got to give them almost sizable chunks, something that they feel that they can do, so that people feel part of the change that's coming about, and they feel that they really can get change to come about without just sort of giving up the way that the life that they're used to, and really being too radical.
Do you accept that, Bernadette?
Well, I brought along an example of what I consider to be light and dark green. Because here we have a disposable paper coffee filter, and here we have an unbleached disposable paper coffee filter. Now, the light green approach is to have an unbleached coffee filter, but the dark green approach is to use a reusable, washable coffee filter. Now, you'll save money if you do that, but at the end of the day, you're not throwing away the paper. It's very good that these companies are taking the chemicals out of the coffee filter so that we're not poisoned anymore. We're not poisoning the water systems. But at the end of the day, if you use something that's reusable and not disposable, that's the difference I'm trying to make.
But isn't something at least better than nothing at all? I mean, well, this problem's too big, I can't do anything about it.
I don't think it's that difficult a choice, especially where money's concerned, because people do like to save money.
Yeah, but some people don't want to. I mean, I know what you're saying, but some people don't want the trouble of washing things and reusing them again because it's a busy life these days.
The problem that we have is that very soon we might run out of those sort of things, and we certainly haven't got enough to go around for everyone. So I don't think we can wait. We can afford to wait another 10 years before all the trees are cut down, before we've polluted everything, before we say, oh, well, look, sorry about that, I will go now and use a reusable product. Because in lots of countries around the world, there just simply aren't any disposable products in the way that we have them. And we have the technology now, we have washing machines, we have shops that we can go and buy these products. We can actually cope very easily with buying a washable product.
I just like to say we're not sort of miles apart on this. What I feel is that it's actually quite important to give people something that they can do, which may mean that they may go a step further. So, for example, if you take the example that Bernadette's used with the coffee filters, yes, the first step for people is to move towards unbleached coffee filters. And you want to be able to give them that choice so that they feel that they've done something. But often, once you get people to do one thing, you actually get they're on the step to doing a lot more. So it's often almost an intermediary step. You're raising people's awareness, you're showing them the sort of things that they can do, you're making them feel part of what's happening, and then you can go to the next stage. And I think a lot of times, once people have got involved, they feel quite enthusiastic and they want to get going and do more and more.
Well, let me go to the Director General of the Retail Consortium, James May, because I'd like to find out, James, just how committed that supermarkets and so on really are to providing a choice and to doing their bit.
Well, I think they're very committed, and certainly it's not just a question of providing green goods. There's a great deal more going on in energy efficiency, use of buildings, use of space, use of distribution and so on. The green product is just the tip of the iceberg that the public sees. The supermarket chains and indeed retailers generally are doing an enormous amount to make their businesses more environmentally friendly.
Although some people say that you're actually, you're cashing in, you're not providing that great a selection, you're not really isolating the products very much, and you're just, in a way, cashing in on a vulnerable area.
Well, we have to provide what the public wants and what the public is educated to come and ask for. We can't insist that the public buy certain types of product or don't buy other sorts of product.
But you can provide the choice, can't you?
And indeed, I think that's exactly what we're doing. We are providing the choice of whether they want to buy a greener product than another type of product or what. But at the end of the day, the public has to, first of all, be persuaded to try the green product, take it away, try it in their own home. If they find it's not so good, then they may come back and say, well, we're going to wait a little while until there is a better green product that does the job better.
I think Bernadette wants to...
Well, yes, we asked a major supermarket chain if they would put cotton handkerchiefs next to the paper disposable handkerchiefs, and they just laughed at us, and they said, we certainly will not, because supermarkets are there, they want the consumer to go back every week and buy paper tissue paper tissues and things. It's really difficult because at the end of the line you want to make a profit. You want people to buy your product over and over again. You want everyone to go back on a Saturday. And there's a real difference between that. You can simply use recycled tissues to blow your nose, but if you're providing a cotton handkerchief alternative and people see that it's cheaper and it's more environmentally benign, they won't go back to your supermarket as often. That's the real problem.